The 365 Pro Wrestling.
365 Nation, Eddie Osborne here, and today on the 365 Pro Wrestling Podcast, I have the one, the only, the sport Jessy Jones. How you doing, man?
I am resting very comfortably inside isolation on my private island.
Very good. That's Sportopia, man.
That's right.
Now, were you always a wrestling fan?
Yes and no. I watched it when we were young, but I really didn't get into it until French class of 1996, I believe it was, when a co-classmate, I guess is the word I was looking for, introduced me to this thing called Monday Night Raw. And we kicked it off from there and started watching Raw. And when I was younger, I had a big satellite dish, so we got to watch all the pay-per-views in Spanish. So I became popular because I was able to invite people over to watch these pay-per-views that everyone else had to pay for, but we got to watch it for free on the great big old satellite dish. So we always were happy when the Spanish commentary table got destroyed, because then we could hear JR and the King doing commentary.
Yes.
But I grew up with Hugo Savinovich and Carlos Cabrera.
That's amazing.
And that's basically what started my fascination with wrestling, because I didn't really we saw it a couple times when we were kids and stuff, but it wasn't anything that was popularized in my home. And then once we got into it there, and it was so enjoyable. It was so enjoyable, in fact, that me and a group of friends started up a backyard wrestling company, and we toured all over town, and we got on television here, and we put out videos in our hometown video store, and we performed live at different events like the 30-hour famine and the fall fair and such. At the high school, we did a ladder match and a casket match, and all untrained and dangerous, but we had fun with it.
Of course you did. But then you made the big move. You moved from Northern Ontario to the south, to Cambridge, to the Hart Brothers School of Wrestling. What got you there?
Well, actually, I moved to Belleville first.
Oh, yes.
Because I left home and went to TV radio broadcasting.
Yes.
And then I got suckered in by Mr. Shaw and pulled my second year's tuitions of my college and spent that on wrestling school. So then during the summer of 99, summer of 2000, I would have pulled my tuitions and made the move to Cambridge, to the Hart Brothers School.
Exactly. That's when you're training with the Highlanders. Ely.
I was actually yes. Derek or Robbie came, I believe, a week or two after I showed up at the school, and then 6 months to a year later, Rory showed up, or Russell, and in that period of time, Spears or Ronnie showed up at the same time. There's been quite a few different people that came through there that we knew. Plus the 2,000 other people that paid and then disappeared.
And that's this guy and one of the girls there, Sandy, I think, had a list, or they were trying to count how many people went through the doors there and paid upwards to
X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
Well, because when we first went, it was $4,700 is what I paid, I believe. And that was including my tanning fees and my boot fees, and but I still had to pay for boots from, so they weren't actually covered. But anyway, there's a few loopholes or holes in the whole process there. But
it was like and then a flight out there. It was 63 when I went, 100.
Oh, geez.
And then I think they made Brits pay in the pound, and they made Americans pay in.
Oh yeah,
US dollars,
you had to pay in your currency because Fubio or Jermaine Watson, a man of color, let's say, also had to pay for tanning fees, which I thought was kind of hilarious. But it was just amazing the amount of money that went through there. But like I said, there's been people that came there and they went and trained elsewhere or honed their craft somewhere else, but they started there with us, and they, as long as you made the most of the worst situation, is what we always used to say, that you could get something out of it, and the people did. The ones that couldn't handle it or just didn't want to or couldn't stomach the injustices that were going on, they definitely left quite quickly. Some of them turn around in one night, but
hold that cap.
The ones that could do it did it and did it well. So,
what are your fondest memories of the school?
Probably the camaraderie. I remember just when everyone would get together and you wouldn't have to deal with Joe or anything like that, and we just had fun. Like I still remember running weekly Sunday shows and putting on shows. Our Nightmare on King Street show we did 3 or 4 years in a row. Those were awesome. I love doing those.
So, even when I didn't live there.
Yeah, just to be able to organize it and be able to bring people that we knew from around the area out to come on down and watch so it was like doing our own in-house shows before the Performance Center even existed. No,
that was a lot of fun times. I was wrestling so much at that time. Like, we trained 5 nights a week at least. And then we had those shows every weekend, and then we just get in there and mess around. I'm like, every day I was in that ring, and
and that
I learned.
that was the best part, right? Because it was being able to perfect the stuff that we were shown how to do, and we had some pretty decent trainers that were there when they were there. So it was just taking what they gave you and being able to perfect it. And during the earlier times there, we were on the road a lot too, you, me, Foxy, and Clayton at times. We were going everywhere that we could possibly get on. So, and it was good times to just be out and about and to do what you could enjoy and just perform differently in front of so many people. Our craft has changed so much. You watch earlier matches, I still remember yours and Elian's first contest. That started with a power bomb, a slide in and a power bomb, and you guys have honed your craft. You have changed it. It is not just big move after big move after big move anymore. You can play a crowd. You know what to do. You can. We've learned to be able to play off of audiences and play off your opponent as well. Being able to learn and work with different varieties of people as well is something that we were taught or that we learned to do. It wasn't necessarily something that was just picked right up, but being able to do all that stuff and working on our little weekend shows. We were able to do that with different, just as us as the crowd. We had at one point 20 or 30 students there. And so we got to watch and sit there and we were our own audience. We were our own refs and stuff like that. And we got to, everyone was always trying to one up each other. So,
yep, that's for sure. So those are really good times. Now, you sometimes get pigeoned as just a manager, but you wrestle quite a bit as well. Did you like one over the other?
I like the performing aspect of it all. I've always said, I'm a performer. I like being able to have that audience, whether I'm speaking as a bad guy, as a heel manager, or performing as a heel bad guy, or even just very little ever getting to do it. But being a good guy and getting that sympathy and getting that hot comeback was great. just like swoosh was was a great
super wonderful, omnipotent, oval shaped
hero. Swoosh. That's right. Like he played a good guy. But he was a comical character that, didn't do anything too overly abundant or anything like that. But he was fun to play. I got to enjoy him because the fans and the kids liked him. And we did some silly things like smashing the mat and people fall over with his super punch. And he had a big belly buster where he bounced people around and stuff like that. It was fun. I liked wrestling. When I was in better shape, I really liked it. When I was out of shape, I didn't like it as much. And managing, it all depended on how it was booked, really, because sometimes they just wanted me there to speak for somebody, and that was great. But other times they didn't even want me to speak and stuff. They didn't want me to do anything other than just walk down to the ring and come to the back. And that, for me, that's an easy payday. Sure, why not? But it's not. I don't enjoy that, right?
Yeah.
If you're putting someone with a manager, there's a purpose for it. Like, managers are to be that extra bit that wrestler is missing, and that's what I think a lot of people misunderstood.
I agree with that. I think
that was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, it was, and then when you got to your own spot and you came into your own skin and you were comfortable enough you didn't need me anymore, and that right, I didn't need to be that speaking role for you or whatnot, because you found your voice, you found your persona, you found your character, and you didn't need to have me with you anymore because you were good enough on your own 2 feet. Like I said, and that's what a lot of promoters, even to this day, still don't quite understand, that a manager is getting paid to help a talent that you see needs help. Like, if your guy can't speak properly, or he can, but he needs that little extra oomph, or you have a bad guy you're trying to put over, but he's just not getting up to that next level. A good manager will help raise him up to that level. Will help teach him how to speak and stuff like that. And during the time that is happening, the manager will speak for him and teach him all this extra stuff. So eventually he won't need the manager anymore. People always say that you have to, you're basically putting yourself out of a job if you're doing the job right, because you're showing them how to do it and everything. But that's just the way I always looked at it. I don't know if everybody looks at it the same way, but I always thought, that's my job to try and show them, bring them up to a certain level to where they don't need to have that manager anymore. But some people can't grasp that. Some people just don't have that extra little oomph that it takes. And that's good too, because then they'll always have a manager. And then that means you'll always have a job for me. So
for sure. See, I liked having you as my manager. I thought it worked really well. We had a good dynamic. But by the end, you were even like, no. But that's just because I was trying to get in fights.
Well, yeah, I was tired of trying to break up fights and hold you back from trying to legitimately not get punched out and stuff like that. Like, you got to the cocky era of your wrestling where you were indestructible. You were thinking that I was Jimmy and Rory with you, and I was going to start taking punches and stuff, and that wasn't happening. I'm not getting punched. I'm not getting stabbed. I'm not getting beer bottles broken on me. You want to start a fight? You start the fight. I'm going to stand over here.
And that's what he said to me. At one point, he's like, "I'm done with this." I'm like, "Pardon me?" He's like, "No, you deal with that." I'm like, "What?" As we walk in,
you want to start the fight? You want to do all this? You deal with it. This is way above my pay grade, because most of the time when I was managing you, I probably wasn't getting paid. So it's like, no, you deal with this. I'm going to go over here and watch you get killed.
Well, we worked a lot of promotions together for a long time. We were a tag team, I think. I mean, you were my manager, but we were a team. And it really helped me out in the beginning. And I think it helps a lot of people out. And right now, there are no managers really in wrestling. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I always wish that they had. Like I said earlier, there's always a place for a manager in wrestling. And as long as they're done properly, that it is something that's great. Like I watched, I think it was Raw on Monday night where I don't even remember her name. It was Vega, Selena Vega, I believe it is. Andrade's lady.
Yep.
But she called herself a manager, and she was talking about how she manages these other people. I haven't watched the product in a while, other than catching WrestleMania there. So I don't know what she's been doing, but I was happy to hear them actually use the term manager on television, because even for the longest time, like Paul Heyman wasn't considered a manager. He was something else. And, everyone that was out there weren't called managers. This was the first time I was able to see on WWE TV that they called somebody a manager. And I'm like, yes, that's awesome. At least they're using the term again. But yeah, no, there has to be a manager, because all these cookie cutters that they're putting out and everything like that, they're trying to get the all-in-one superstar, and you don't need to have the all-in-one superstar. There will be guys that can't speak well and stuff like that. So don't. If they can't, don't force them or try to make them do it. Like, give them somebody that can do that for them. That's a job for these people. That's what managers are meant to do. Managers don't always have to be cheaters. They don't always have to be, they don't always have to be involved in a match, but they can speak, and that's normally what they were built for. Like Bobby Heenan and his family, best times ever. And half his family couldn't speak. Like you have Andre the Giant, the one of the, I think he was the seventh wonder,
eighth wonder of the world.
Eighth, okay. Like,
or was China the eighth?
He's the
seventh. I don't know.
Yeah, that's I was trying to remember. He's one of the wonders of the world. Let's put it that way. And can't talk worth a darn. So they give him somebody that can, and together they're amazing. So, like that type of stuff. Like even Paul Heyman with Brock Lesnar. Brock is not known for his speaking. So having Heyman with him doing the promos and stuff makes the dynamic work perfectly. And so there are definitely spots for managers. And like I said, same thing with indie wrestling. You have a good speaker, you have a top talent that you need to try and put over with the crowd, or trying to run an angle properly or whatnot over the next 2 or 3 shows that you're doing, or months, or however often you run. You have a manager to help move that stuff along. They don't always have to be involved in a match. They don't have to be, but they can be the one cutting the promo for the guy. They can be the one doing the promo online for the guy. Like there's all these different ways to videotape and promote nowadays. You don't have to always have them involved in a match. You don't always have to have them getting beaten up and stuff like that. Sure, the crowd loves when the heel manager gets beaten up. But, if you build that a little bit, if you're planning a feud with these two guys for a couple shows or whatnot, don't blow it all on the first match. Have them cheat, have them do this, have them do that. And then, he gets away with that and they win. And then the second time, maybe the same type of deal. He ends up winning. And then in the third one, the people remember that this, guy on the outside has cheated twice for the past 2 shows. There has to be something done about it. And he finally gets it. And, the good guy cuts him off and beats him up, or something happens, or, and then there you go. Everyone's happy because they stopped him. He won. He lost. They're all ecstatic. But, it's all, everyone books differently. So, but yes, to answer your original question, there are places for managers in the wrestling world, and I'm a little sad that they don't get used more often.
So, do you feel like you were both wrestler and manager the whole time? Because I feel like you did a lot of managing with a little bit of wrestling, and then you kind of exploded into wrestling, PWX time, and then into PWA.
Yes. I consider myself a manager. And when people ask me for a definition, I say I'm a wrestling manager.
There you go. Yep.
Because I wrestled at one point, but I prefer, like, I enjoy doing the 5-minute, 6-minute manager style matches where, I get thrown in with a wrestler, quote unquote, as my partner, or against a wrestler and it's some kind of gimmick stipulation, something like that, because I am not the most technically sound wrestler. I am not a Chris Benoit or a Bret Hart or even a Ric Flair. I know my basics and whatnot, but I am not going to technically out wrestle somebody, and people don't want to see me try and do that because I would sit back and say, this fat guy is boring.
Wow.
I don't want to see this. Somebody beat up this fat man. And that's what, people enjoyed when I got the crap kicked out of me all the time because I was so cocky and because I had charisma and I was always a mouthpiece and whatnot. Like, what trained me to have cardio in wrestling was running around the ring 24 hours during your matches, yelling all the time. I got my cardio as a manager or to wrestle from being a manager.
I can see that.
I could talk the whole time, and that's one thing that I enjoyed while I wrestled was being able to talk to the audience and being able to talk and just so that they wanted me to get beat up. They wanted me to have my mouth shut because of me just babbling on and on and on. So that's what I've always considered. I'm a wrestling manager because, I always pride myself on being Ontario's only 5-time award-winning best manager,
Yes.
And I'm sure that could happen again at some other point that someone might break my record. But when the Ontario Independent site was being run by Emmanuel Mello, I got voted in 5 years in a row as best manager in Ontario. So, I'm happy to have that as my claim to fame at the present moment. I know the website's not really going anymore, so I can't really say it's going to happen again, but I'm just happy that I was able to do that in my time. And it's not a huge accolade to some people, but it is to me that I was considered the best at that point for the 5 years that I was doing it. So,
yep. And then, so in PWA, you went to, you had a manager in Paul Wright, which was always great. He just seemed like a great fit for you because he was your lackey, and he played a really good lackey.
Yes, he did.
And then you guys had Elian, who was the Cuban, and you had his card, so he couldn't leave anywhere without it. So you had a slave, basically. Yeah. And then I was in your group as well, and Reggie, and we were just the other players in it. But how much fun did you have with Elian over that, 2 years in a row you were our best feud?
Oh, it was great because you guys put that together so well. When I won and beat him for his citizenship, and then I was able just to take the championship. We were actually talking about that, how I was the longest reigning internet champion until you went and broke that with Elian Habanero. And I'm like, of course he did. Of course he did. But we had so many great stories with that, just because once he eventually got away, he still didn't get away because we had 4 different matches to try and solidify things, and then he got the belt back, and we had the hair. I don't know if PWA ever had another hair versus championship match.
I lost my hair to Ruffy.
Okay.
In Kitchener.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it though.
Okay, so I'm one of two hair versus championship or hair versus
cool
title
thing
match.
About the hair versus title match was you lost, and then you tried to get away, and we had wrestlers it was Gaze's call night. Like you put guys at every exit or something like that. So you tried to run to every one of them, and the people are just watching you, and there's a person at every one, and then finally
they dragged me back to the ring, kicking and screaming, and then sat me in a chair and held me there.
Amazing.
But
and then you guys did a Vanna Street fight. You did the First Blood.
Yeah.
And
it was.
Elian was going to mention this, but I think you forgot to. Your guys' match is the only men's match in the top 10 views of any PWA content.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's no men. It could be an intergender match possibly, but just 2 man versus man. That's the only one in the top probably 35.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
well, that's kind of nice to know. Yeah, I still remember starting the PWA media page for you. way back in the day,
100%.
doing all those editing and making the logo and the explosion and all that stuff.
And that's what we're finally getting up now.
Yeah, I noticed. I noticed you had put up the whole holiday hangover or whatnot. I believe almost from 2006. I was like, holy crap!
And there's more coming. So
Good.
all those tapes that you saved, thank goodness for us, and then got to Alan, and then he hung on for 10 years. Have now got to me, and I left them at Aliens, and Aliens doing all the work, getting them on
awesome
online. And
because I was wondering. I was hoping that because I had such a library at one point that I'm just like, I have to give this to somebody. And then, it was supposed to go to one person to get copied. And then I checked in with them and they didn't have it anymore. So I'm like, well, where did they go?
Yeah. So he has about 38 more tapes to go.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So, like I said, I had quite a collection. I remember, like I said, I had fun doing that type of stuff. Being even back when I was able to hook up 2 cameras, we were able to switch back and forth and have live commentary going and stuff like that. I really liked doing that type of stuff. So,
and I don't think people knew you were doing so much of it too. You had all that editing stuff with you, and now we're finally getting to see it.
Yeah. So let's hope I did a good job.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah.
But it was. I still remember it being disappointed with sometimes an Elements tape wouldn't turn out properly, or we would run into a show where it didn't have any sound at all because somebody popped out a cord or didn't turn on a microphone or something.
Yeah,
and
Elements was always cursed.
Yeah. We got some good shows taped,
yes,
but it's. Some of them were just fuzzy or it was missing a volume here or the picture was blurry and it's like, what is going on? What happened?
Especially when it looks so good before we go out there. But
I know, because I would set up the cameras and everything would look great and all. And I'm like, okay, this looks good. The mics are on. Don't touch anything. Just leave it alone. Just hit record. That's all you have to do. And then they forget to hit record.
Yep. These things would happen. And I've been guilty of doing it. So.
Oh, yeah. And that's the part, right? When I was, because I wasn't out there to be able to do it, I had to rely on somebody else to try and do it. So, but that's the way it is.
Now, what were your favorite moments in wrestling? Maybe the PWA era. I know you had a lot of good moments in PWX as well and other promotions, but for just today, what were your favorite things that you accomplished in PWA? Because you did a lot of things.
Well, everything except winning the main championship. But I guess I got to manage the champion on a few occasions, so I guess that kind of pans out. But
sure, you're part of it.
But no, there's a lot. I did so much there. Having the loser leaves town match in Boomers, that was a blast. Being ejected from the building, having Crystal kick me in the nuts and Ronnie slap me around, or Spears slapped me around and threw me out the door. I don't know if it was one of my most favorite moments, but pulling the wool over your eyes and winning the internet championship for the 3rd time was kind of fun. But I paid for it in the end.
That's one of the moments where Eric was scared because he's like, Eddie just won't even yell or get mad. He just said, "I'll handle it." And he's like, "We can do this." He's in the back. He's like, I don't know what to do. Eddie's not upset. He's just looking really mad. I don't know what to do. He was terrified. He told me that was one of the scariest moments of his life.
And I just knew that, I paid the price for it because I overstepped my boundaries and stuff. I was suspended and all. And I understood it because just because we were friends doesn't mean I could take advantage of something like that. But I just remember, him trying to kick out, and I didn't let him. But yeah, and then just having my tag team title run with Lack, and it was great. All the matches with Alien were fun. I got getting to interview Molly Holly and Ivory, doing those backstage segments was great times. And there's probably just all the matches that I got to wrestle and I got to manage, because like I said, I enjoy all of it. Really, I don't think I ever had a bad time with PWA. I don't think I've ever had one show where I'm like, oh, I hated that and I don't ever want to do that again, or I don't ever want to see it. I'm sure that I've had some matches that weren't the greatest. I'm sure I've been involved in segments that weren't the best, but everybody has those. And to my recollection, I don't have anything that sticks out going, ugh, that I didn't like. That I think the one of my more shocking moments was posing naked in the shower with the internet championship.
That was amazing.
I think I shocked a lot of people when I did that, and I probably made a few people throw up.
It was awesome. No, it was great.
But yeah, no, I liked it all. It was all lots of fun. We had some good stories and stuff like that, and it was a blast, especially when we were running weekly, and even doing like 2 times a week when we were doing the French Club and Jay's place.
Yeah,
so we had a guaranteed 8 shows a month plus whatever else we were working outside of that.
And then we do like Guelph and Goderich and maybe something. There's a lot of shows a month.
It was fun.
And then you didn't end wrestling in PWA because you weren't wanted anymore because of any issues. You moved. Life took place.
Yes.
I'll let you go into it. I was just going to say, and it was different because you were no longer in it, and then it changed quite a bit.
Yeah, like all of wrestling changed. Like when it's like they always say, out of sight, out of mind, right? And like my father passed away, and I was actually helping promote another wrestling company at the time, and we were getting ready to do a show. I think it was less than a week away from when my father passed, and I was gone. I'm just like, no, somebody else has to take care of this. I'm out of here. So I have, and then I came up to the north, and things worked out where I was doing work and stuff up here because we had to clean up the estate. We had to take care of everything up here, and then it just worked out where I just wasn't going back to the south at that point, and I moved everything from my place down south up here, and I've been up here ever since. And yeah, things changed. It was the whole landscape of the PWA changed, because I remember looking back going, I don't know any of these people anymore. and even just in Ontario wrestling in general, I'm like, I don't know half these people. Like I knew some of them from back when I was traveling with them or working shows with them and stuff. But yeah, you're gone for a year. Things change. I've been gone. I was out of the wrestling completely for probably about 2 to 3 years before I even considered looking back into anything else. I think it was a couple of year break where I didn't do anything at all for anybody. And then when I started getting back into things got settled down and situated. I started getting back into things going, I don't know you. I don't know you. I don't know you. Oh, I remember you from like 10 years ago.
That's true.
But the whole thing changed, and but I was excited and honored to be invited there to the final PWA show, and it meant a lot to me knowing that I still hadn't been completely forgotten.
Well, you're such a big part of it. So
we're there. Most of them I knew, and even some of the new ones that I didn't know, they knew me, so that felt good. And I'm just like, it's different being away, but it's great being back,
For sure.
So I still don't do much nowadays. I am enjoying I keep saying semi-retirement because I haven't said I'm done for good. So I'm just semi-retired because every once in a while I get offered something and I'm like, okay, that sounds like fun. Let's do that. Yep. But so I haven't officially retired, but I'm hoping to get health and everything back in order, so I can eventually make one last run in the ring would be great.
Sure.
But I'm not holding my breath on it. But I know my partner wants me to at least get in there once or twice for my daughter. I'm like,
yep,
we'll see about that. I'm not gonna say no, but I'm also gonna say not at this moment.
Sure.
So, like I said, I'm semi-retired, enjoying it all, but yeah, wrestling has changed in general completely. Even just in the however many years I've been gone, like there's so many. Well, wrestling always evolves anyway, right? Like it has changed so much since we started back in 2000 to what it is 20 years later. So it's always evolving, and you always have to change with it. But I always prided myself on being that old school person, or that old school performer. Anyway, like I for the longest time, I would never go out and sign autographs, and I wouldn't sell merchandise because I was always told that as a bad guy, you don't do that stuff, right? And I didn't talk nicely to people. I didn't care if they liked me or not. My job was to be hated. I was being paid to be hated. So even after the show, when they were like, hey, I'm just like, go away. Leave me alone. I'm not here to abuse you. So, so I'm like, no, that's not, but that was, and that has changed over time because now it's no longer socially acceptable just to be a dick.
True. Yeah. You think of the things we've done those early days.
Oh, can you imagine spinning that kid around in the wheelchair now? Can you imagine that? Doing that nowadays? We would be probably thrown in jail.
Probably get a little more press for it.
I was going to say we'd probably be on TMZ now, but
once upon a time,
wheel handicapped kid halfway across an arena floor.
Damn.
So we were talking over top of each other. I didn't catch what you said.
I was going to say, damn. No, those were the good days.
Yeah.
They're fun. But wrestling's still evolved and it's doing even better now, and I think people really love it. What were your thoughts on PWA changing to 365? Did it feel like it was ending something in your life, or was it evolving into something new?
I think that change is always good. People fear change, and I can understand that. For myself, I was sad to see PWA come to an end because then I knew I would never get to have that tick beside my name of holding the PWA Heavyweight Championship. So that was always something that I wanted. I'd always hoped for, but I wasn't the main tier person to get that. So I understand. I guess I didn't grease the right palms or something. So that part of me was sad that I would never have that little tick mark beside my name. And it's also sad that it's something that was started how many years ago now, and it was one of Ontario's longest promotions that could say that they've never closed, even through the suspensions and the changing of the wrestling licenses and all this stuff, the gate fees and the OAC or whatever it was called. What was it? Ontario Athletics.
OAC,
yeah, the OAC.
Yeah.
Like all this, like through all the changes and stuff like that, it was still there and still around and still going strong. And so, yeah, it was a little sad to find out that it was being changed and closed down. So, it was a chapter that was just being closed out. And part of me felt sad that I'm not part of the 365, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And see, I haven't even learned the name of the new company.
Damn.
It's like, yeah, I haven't even, because to me, I'm not a part of it, right? So it's not on the forefront of my mind, and I'm happy that you guys are all doing it and you're doing it well, and hopefully with this isolation and stuff ending eventually, hopefully sometime this year, that you guys will get to do some more shows before December.
Oh, for sure. Better. I need to.
Yeah. Like I said, it hurts everybody, right?
Yeah.
But like I said, that's not a chapter for me. It's not part of my chapter. I'm not involved in that scenario. So it, I don't want to say it means nothing to me because that sounds a little rude, but it's not something that I'm involved in.
For sure.
So, so the future, like I said, the future is now for you guys and the newer generations that you're bringing on.
For sure.
So yeah, sad that it closed, and happy that in essence you're continuing on with a tied-in PWA legacy. Put it that way.
For sure. Now you said you're semi-retired, so you could still have one last program. If you could have that program, who would it be against?
I always liked working people smaller than myself because then I could actually pick them up and do things. Because working with people my size, well, there aren't many that are my size, but bigger gentlemen and whatnot, were always harder to do things with because, like I said, I'm not the strongest person in the world. I always thought running a program with Lenny would be fun. Yes. Like I said, because complete opposite to working someone that I want to be smaller than myself. Lenny's like 6 times bigger than I am, but I'm just kidding, Lenny. We know he's 10 times bigger than I am, but anyway, I always thought him and I could have a really good program because I always liked what Lenny did, and he was always a decent talker, and even like I always looked at Lenny as being following, I don't want to say being me, but I want to say following in the style of footsteps that I followed through at the beginning of the PWA, being a manager and then transitioning into wrestler and just being good at what he does in all those aspects of it. So, like I said, I never really got to work with him all that much. I think I've worked with him twice, 2 or 3 times, maybe. Yeah, but watching his stuff when you guys had put it online or on your TV shows on Rogers there and stuff, I'm like, I could always see myself in Lenny, even though he probably has no idea of who I was. Or
we always tell him that.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But like I said, I liked watching that, so I always thought him and I would have a fun little program together. I always liked working with the women as well too, because I was always one that they could beat up, right? And I would always be this big and tough, rough and tumble guy that they could kick the crap out of, and that I'd just be a cowering little snivelly whiny man. And like some working with the Fox back in, I don't think I worked with her much in the PWA, but just at the beginning of our career and stuff, I had lots of fun working with her in the different promotions that we got to wrestle in, and putting her over as gold because I could talk, and then they would hate me for it and calling, putting in the kitchen. She comes out, kicks the crap out of me. Everyone was happy. So
for sure, no, those were good times.
Yeah. Like I said, I think working with Lenny, I could think, even if we're just opposites in managerial skills and we don't actually have to get in there, just me and him on the outside with 2 of our best guys. I always thought working in Hallam or Halem, I guess, whichever you want to call him. I always thought when he got into managing and whatnot, I think him and I could have had a good little program too. I also think running a program against Gordo, the Wizard of Id, more time would be lots of fun, and like in the managerial capacity once again, and then if it to actually wrestle. I think Elian and I could, if Elian drops a few pounds and brings off the sport belly, him and I could have a couple good times again.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't need to wear that life preserver anymore. He's got his own.
Jeez.
No, I'm just kidding. I love him. He knows that. But I think him and I could have something good. And there's a lot of great new talent out there too that I think I would have lots of fun with. So it would be great. Like I said, if I was just healthy enough to do one more run, I'd have I'd have 6 or 7 great matches with a bunch of people. I even watching Eric and even Joey Allen, watching both of them grow up from fans into the championship caliber wrestlers that they are now. It's awesome being able to say that, I was there at their beginnings. I probably pinched their bums and flirted with them at the very beginning. So, well, probably not Joey Allen. He was kind of chunky when he first started. He was. I think I'm pretty with him now than I was back in the beginning. But Eric's always been cute, so that's just one of the good things about it. I think I probably drove a lot of. And see, that's the other part. Me being who I was back then, I probably would have been the Harvey Weinstein of something or other because I know that I flirted with a lot of people and probably made a lot of people uncomfortable.
See, I didn't really notice much of that.
Pardon?
But I said I didn't really notice much of that, but maybe like Tommy Ryder, but that was about it. And I just thought it was a rib on him.
Yeah.
But,
well, I think that Tommy was probably one of the worst cases I had. Poor Tommy. But yeah, no,
he's living in Victoria these days, so he's not too far away.
Yeah, I heard he's doing quite well.
Yeah, he's doing awesome, and I always want to see if he gets back into training one day, just to do one more match because it'd be a lot of fun. But I'm going to wrap this up. It's getting a little bit crazy long, and we're going to have to do another one because there's still a whole bunch we missed out. Just want to kind of leave the floor open to you. Anything you want to say to the fans of Sportopia?
Oh, the fans of Sportopia. You can always go to jessyjones.info. That's JESSYJONES.info to see anything that I did before and everything that I'm doing now. The website is there. It's not updated very often because, as you heard, I'm semi-retired. But, it's there. So if you ever wanted to go back to a YouTube channel that isn't the PWA or 365, my YouTube channel is attached there. My Twitter is attached there. I don't think I tweet for all that often. I got to start doing stuff again. But it's all there. I just want to say thank you to everyone that had supported me before and still support me now. I have lots of fun. I am a character. I love being a character. Whether it's in the ring or outside of the ring, people have always said I'm unique, and I enjoy that. And you should too. Embrace your weirdness, and if you can, be weird. The world is full of... Have fun. The world is full of too many stuck-up people nowadays. Just have yourself... Be yourself, have lots of fun, live life, and I guess the time right now, stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, and remember, without the sport Jesse Jones, this is only entertainment.
I love it. Awesome, man. Thank you so much for doing this, and we'll talk again soon.
Yes, thank you very much, Eddie. We'll talk to you soon.